Welcome to the Living a Nordic Life podcast, where we explore a simpler, cosier and more intentional life the Nordic way. I'm Fiona McKenna, your Nordic living guide and founder of Living a Nordic Life, where I share all things Nordic living and show you that a Nordic life is the way to bring intentional calm and healthy habits into your own life, wherever you are in the world. Are you looking for ways to bring simplicity, coziness and calm into your life? Well, let me show you how. Visit the Living a Nordic Life website to explore how I can help you on your journey to simple, healthy and happy calm, the Nordic way. You can subscribe to the podcast right here. And if you want regular inspirational emails sent with love from Norway and straight to your inbox, don't forget to subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters. And so now let's dive into our episode. Let's talk about birthdays. Every culture has its own way of doing things, doesn't it? And especially with celebrations. They are so particular to certain cultures and certain countries. And celebrations like birthdays, of course. In Norway, celebrating a birthday is very different to other parts of Europe or the USA or Australia. Of course, there are lots and lots of similarities. But if you're new to Norway, you will definitely need a little bit of navigation and some help with the first Norwegian birthday party that you attend. Or perhaps you want some help to plan your own Norwegian-style birthday celebration. Having Norwegian family and living in Norway means that I've attended and thrown more than just a few Norwegian birthday parties. Everything from the older people in the family to the littlest ones. So, shall we take a look at what it means to celebrate your birthday Norwegian style and how you can do it yourself if you want to? You don't have to live in Norway to have a Norwegian style birthday party. And I think you'll surprise your friends a little bit as well and family by having something that's maybe a little bit different to what they would normally expect, especially if they've never been to Norway. For a start, we throw the party ourselves. It's most unusual for parties in Norway to be thrown by anyone other than the person whose birthday it is. And if you're from Britain or America or somewhere else, you're probably used to somebody else throwing the party for you, and perhaps even surprise birthday parties if it's something that's a significant number. You're an adult. We'll talk about adults here, not kids. But here it's very different. You throw it yourself. And by this I'm talking about adult birthday parties and not kids, because obviously if it's a kid's birthday party, then you as the parent would be throwing it most likely. But when it's your birthday as an adult, you organise it yourself. You decide on the date. It does not have to be on your birthday. Usually, it's a weekend closest to your birthday. And quite often, if it's family, it'll be in the afternoon. It will not be in the evening, so that everybody can attend, even the little ones. You send the invitations yourself, and you organise the party with food, location, choice of guests. And times for parties are strictly followed. If you tell the guests that the party is from 6 p.m, for example, expect everybody to arrive at 6. I've tried doing throwing parties where I've said from, which is kind of British, a little bit French, from so-and-so. And you expect people to arrive from that time. So it might be like from 4 p.m, for example. And you think, oh, maybe it'll just be staggered and somebody will arrive at 4, somebody else 4:30, maybe somebody at 5, and it kind of staggers through the afternoon, evening. It doesn't work like that. Everybody will arrive at 4. So expect that if you're throwing a party. But we also tell the guests quite often that the party is from a certain time, but it will finish at a certain time. So you might say from 4 till 7. And then when it gets to 7 o'clock, people get up and they leave. And nobody thinks it's rude. It's not rude. It's perfectly polite. It's structured. And I love that formality and structure that we don't see so much in England. People might linger on, which is lovely if they want to stay. But they might linger on, for hours afterwards when perhaps you're thinking, I'm tired now, I really want everybody to go. Here in Norway, you can do start and finish time. It's perfectly acceptable. There's usually no alcohol unless it's an evening event or an adults party, quite often. In Norway, it's against the law to drink any more than the tiniest little amount of alcohol and drive. The police like to tell everybody that it's no alcohol at all, but actually, in reality, it's a very, 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 very small amount in your bloodstream, which amounts to less than one drink. So we don't risk it, we just don't drink. So daytime parties are usually without alcohol. And being Nordic, it means that coffee, as you know, everybody loves coffee here, is always on the menu and there's plenty of it. But soft drinks like lemonade, juice, fizzy drinks are also welcome. But alcohol is kept for another time. We don't need to have it. Birthdays are most often family time. In my own family, at least, and those of friends, birthday parties are most often with family. This will include all the family and often extended family too. In my family, this can be upward of 20 people. That's just close family. There's quite a lot of us. And I certainly never expect to host a party for less than 15, which is good because between you and me, I do tend to over-cater just a little bit. So knowing that there's always going to be 15 people means we don't have an awful lot of leftovers. Still manage to over-cater quite a bit. I like people to feel that they've got enough to eat. In fact, everybody in the family is the same. We all do it. We all end up serving far too much food, and then people have to take doggy bags home. But in typical Nordic fashion, family parties do not usually include friends. Groups of friends and family are compartmentalised. But birthdays are also this wonderful opportunity for everyone to get together. We're busy, everybody's working, and if you have this structured time where you know everybody's going to be attending, we often send our invitations out on Facebook so everybody can see who's going and we can talk about it. And then if you see that everybody's going, you're more likely to reply and say, yes, I'm coming. And it gives you a chance to get together with everybody when maybe we haven't had that time because everybody's been busy. It can be an oasis of calm and comfort. And talking of friends and family, usually there's no mixing of friends and family. Nordic people are very good at compartmentalising groups of friends or groups of people. For example, family wouldn't normally mix with the parents of your kids' friends or cabin friends. Groups of friends are kept apart, and this makes life very easy. I don't say deliberately kept apart, actually. It's just something that happens. But it makes life easy when you're organising anything because nobody expects to be invited to everything. It's not going to happen. And you don't have to explain why they haven't been invited. There's no, oh my goodness, I'm so sorry that we haven't invited you, but this is only for. It's understood that this is going to be for just family. That's how it is. Nobody gets offended. Nobody feels like they've been left out because perhaps there will be a party for friends and not family, and then family won't be offended. But it makes life much easier. And there aren't really any questions asked. It's lovely. It'd be nice if we could do that everywhere, but it's very much a Nordic culture thing, that. Kids' parties have a strict formula, very strict formula, certainly in Norway. But something that's always struck me as amusing, and especially when we first moved to Norway, was this kind of strict pattern that children's parties take. Maybe it's reassuring for everybody, makes life a little bit easier, we don't have to think about it too much. And it's not a surprise for the kids either. But they almost always take place at a soft play centre, a trampoline park or a bowling alley. Sometimes at people's houses. Occasionally there'll be some wild person who'll have it outside. But usually this is the format. And the food of choice will always either be pizza or hot dogs. You can pretty much bet your life on that. When we first arrived in Norway, the children were at an international school, so there were some Norwegians there as well. It's probably half Norwegians, but they were mostly people from all over the place. A lot of expats who had just arrived in Norway or weren't staying very long, and they wanted their children's education to kind of follow through. So they had them attend a school that was doing the International Baccalaureate programme, which means that they can just pick up in any country, anywhere, at whatever point, knowing that the education is going to be the same. So not very many Norwegians. But on one occasion, one parent threw a party for their child, and one of the Norwegian parents asked why there were no hot dogs, when this host parent was wild and crazy and decided to go with another option instead. I think they were probably a foreigner like me. I don't remember the exact details, but I do remember that it caused a bit of a stir because hot dogs were not on the menu for this party. The Norwegian cold board, that's like a buffet, rules. It's a buffet table that you always see at parties, almost always. It's everything from birthday parties to 17th of May celebrations to Christmas. Not New Year, I have to say. Possibly Easter if you're hosting an Easter party. But I'm not sure if this is because people like to eat the same thing at certain events or just because it's easy. And it kind of showcases really nice Norwegian cuisine and nice Norwegian products as well. Ingredients like fenalår and speck, which are kind of cured and dried meats, and different salamis and smoked salmon and gravlax. It's all that kind of thing. And salads, all that kind of thing on the cold board. But you'll almost always find food along the lines of a cold buffet at parties. It's a little bit like a smorgasbord, but with bread, cold cuts and salad. It's delicious, and it works in every season. It's okay in the winter as well. It's kind of light as well, and you can keep grazing. It's expected, and it doesn't create any kind of unwanted and uncomfortable surprise for the guests, because they can choose what to eat and what not to eat without causing any fuss or drawing attention away from the person whose birthday party it is by saying, oh, I can't eat that, I can't eat that, I don't like that, I don't like that. There's something there for everybody. You just pick what you want. And if you don't want to eat something, you just don't put it on your plate. It's as simple as that. The cake table. Sometimes we just have a cake table and coffee, I have to say, at parties. We don't always have a buffet. But no Norwegian celebration is properly complete without the famous kakebord, or cake table. It's not always cakes. It can be various desserts. And certainly in our family, we like to have something like a chocolate cake. There's always the birthday cake, which will be either a marzipan-covered cream cake or a bløtkake, which is a very soft cream cake with fruit and cream in between the layers and then cream on the top. But it's also desserts like cheesecake. That's always one that's at our parties because everybody loves it. But the cake table is dedicated entirely to cakes, desserts and coffee. One cake or two cakes won't really cut it, I'm sorry to say. There needs to be a good selection. And we frequently find that we have about 10 different cakes and desserts because family members automatically bring a cake with them. So there might be something that they are particularly good at or everybody really likes that everybody else is a bit rubbish at, or maybe we're not so good. So that person will automatically bring their kind of signature cake. And then they just bring it and put it on the table. I simply can't imagine the furore if there was a birthday party without a kakebord. How do you end the party without cake and coffee? What's going on there then? That just wouldn't work, would it? Here in Norway, adults' birthdays are celebrated. Perfectly normal. It's not, only kept for children. It's for adults as well. Once I'd reached about 25, I stopped celebrating birthdays. And adult birthdays in my family weren't very often celebrated unless it was something significant, a significant birthday. But not really. So when I moved here to Norway, it was a refreshing change to join a new family and new culture that celebrated every single adult birthday. Doesn't matter. Could be your 43rd or it could be your 67th. It doesn't matter. It's still celebrated. It doesn't matter if you're hitting a landmark number or not. It's okay. it can still be celebrated and everybody loves it. And I think it's especially nice if you follow a kind of birthday celebrating rules here, where as an adult you organise your own party. So there's no pressure on somebody else to try to make your birthday particularly good. You just do it your way. And as an adult, I think that's lovely. Birthdays are celebrated at school or kindergarten with cake or ice cream. Yes. Maybe not so much at school, but children do take cake with them on their birthdays to share with the rest of the class. But despite the love of healthy food, Norwegians do know how to celebrate and not feel guilty about it. And that starts young. Birthdays are one of those times when we forget about calories and we just enjoy ourselves. And this is true even in school. When it's the birthday of one of the children in a class, the rest of the class will enjoy a slice or two of birthday cake or an ice cream. Yes. At Mia's kindergarten, they used to organise a little birthday celebration for whichever child's birthday it was. They put a flag out, and then there would be a notice saying it was that child's birthday. They'd wear a crown, and they would all have an ice cream or an ice lolly at kindergarten. And it's accepted by the parents. Nobody fusses about whether or not the kids should be eating a little bit of cake. It's a celebration, after all. And we just let them enjoy it and don't make them feel guilty. And especially not early on. I think that's very wrong. We like to put out flags. We love to put out flags. And Norway, like so many countries, has certain days that are flag days. So there are certain days in the calendar that are official flag days where the flags go up on public buildings. We put them out ourselves if it's something that we make a point of noting. There's a lot of flag days, I have to say, throughout the year, but they go up outside schools and things like that. But birthdays are also counted in that number. Not everybody's birthday and not an official flag day, because that would be crazy, wouldn't it? The flags would just stay out. But I'm talking about you as in your family, and you personally. You can go and put the flag out. If it's the birthday of someone in your family, you hang out the flag. It goes up at kindergarten, like I said, with a little one whose birthday it is. How lovely is that? Imagine if you're like 3 or 4 and you arrive at kindergarten and there's a flag out for you because it's your birthday. How cool. But we also put it up outside our house. And we even like to put up little flags for some extra happiness. I put little flags down the garden usually. If it's not the winter and I can actually get them into the ground, because in the winter everything is frozen solid, so it's not quite so easy to try and poke something into the soil. But if it's the summer or it's slightly warmer, then yes, flags go up as well to celebrate and make it just a little bit more festive. It's fun, isn't it? So now you have an idea of how to celebrate your birthday Norwegian style. And it's time for maybe a little bit of birthday hygge. Celebrate it. It's another excuse, isn't it, to raise your level of happiness. And you don't need to live in the Nordics to celebrate like you're a Norwegian. So how does this compare to the birthday celebrations in your own country? Is it something that's very similar? Maybe you have similar cultures, or perhaps you have ancestors who've brought Nordic culture with them to wherever you are, and suddenly you realise that actually that's why you do this, because these are Nordic traditions. I'd love to hear from you, and I will see you in the next episode. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the Living a Nordic Life newsletters so you can get an email when I release a new episode. It's a quick and easy way to keep up with all things Nordic living. Please visit livinganordiclife.com. You can listen to Living a Nordic Life on lots of podcast apps, including Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts and plenty of others. If you've enjoyed the Living a Nordic Life podcast, why not leave me a rating? So that's the end of Living a Nordic Life for today, and I look forward to seeing you next time.